realize that you went to school for journalism, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So from that time when you were sort of on the couch watching those episodes, what was the time frame when you actually stepped foot in that writer's room and started making a living?
It was actually 9 years, and there was a progression along the way. I got out of college. I worked for about 6 or 8 months in San Francisco, then moved back to Los Angeles. And that's when I started writing spec scripts. And I wrote a spec movie by myself. Then I had a partner, and she and I wrote spec sitcoms. And this was simultaneous to doing commercial production. I eventually got a chance to work in a production capacity on movies and TV, and would write more spec scripts when I was unemployed, and then got into the Directors Guild as a second assistant director. And that's when I got my first almost break there, where the producer's brother of the movie I was working on was trying to help develop their television part of their production company, and his assistant learned that I had spec scripts and asked to read the spec script my partner and I had written, and said, hey, this is really good, and got it to an agent, an incredibly prestigious agent who was William Goldman's agent at the time, and Joan Didion, the agency, I don't know if it was the agent. And in hindsight, I know that the agency was just doing this powerful producer's brother a favor. They took us on as clients on a 30-day trial basis. And of course, they sent the script out to shows that said, yeah, we got writers already. This is okay. So that came and went. I kept writing. I kept working as an assistant director. And I got encouragement along the way. I was the second assistant director on a movie called National Lampoon's Vacation, the first one, where they go to the fake Disneyland place there, Wally World. And Chevy Chase was the star of the movie, and learned somehow that I had written spec scripts, and was incredibly generous and said, give me one, I want to read it. So I had written a script for a show called Police Squad, which was the TV predecessor to the Naked Gun movies. And Chevy read it. I still have the script in my office now. He gave me a B+, which was pretty nice of him, and then wrote notes on it, and then signed it Mel Brooks. But at the end of it, and he said this to me personally too, he said, seriously, you have talent and you should keep doing this. And I can't tell you what that meant to me at that time, to have somebody who was a big comedy star and had been a writer himself on variety shows, including Saturday Night Live and the Smothers Brothers and so on, say, yes, keep doing this. So I had that encouragement. Also, my other break was that aside from life break, I met my wife, and her uncle was a CBS current comedy executive. And he read my spec scripts and said, these are good. And he got them to an agent, who eventually became my agent, but he read the Police Squad script and the script I'd written with my former partner, said, these are excellent. I cannot represent you because you're not writing with your partner, and Police Squad's not on TV, and there's nothing on TV like it. So write another script. I wrote a Cheers script, called him up. He read the script. I didn't hear from him for several weeks, and so I had to make that dreaded phone call where you haven't heard, so you're sure it's not going to be good news. And he took the phone call, and when I asked if he'd read the script, he said, yeah, it was really funny. And then just stopped talking. And I said, isn't that good for a comedy that it's funny? He said, yes, but it's too dirty even for Cheers. It's like an R-rated Cheers, which became a joke between us as the years went on and he represented me, because I did nothing but squeaky clean family comedies like The Cosby Show and the TGIF shows on ABC's Family Lineup, and no one thought I could write adult comedy. And I almost begged him to take this 20-year-old script out at one point in time and send it around. But it took time for me to get that good. And so when he said, you have to write another script beyond the Cheers, I wrote another Cheers. And then he made some suggestions, and I took the notes and rewrote the script a little bit. And at that point, he said, okay, I can represent you. And I don't want to continue with this story, because then he called me 2 months later. I had a job as an assistant director then. I was the first AD by that time on a show called Knots Landing, one of the nighttime soap operas. So the bills were getting paid. And then he calls me up in early September, late August of 1984, and says, I have great news. Bill Cosby is doing a new situation comedy, and they read your script and they really like it and they want to hire you, but you've got to go to New York for the job. Well, the previous year, I idolized Bill Cosby, listened to his records as a child, so this was an unbelievable offer. The previous year, though, when my wife was pregnant and we had an 8-year-old, I was out of town doing the only job I could find for 4 months. So it would have been disastrous for my marriage to leave town again. So I turned the job down, and my wife's uncle, the CBS executive, said to me, this is 2 weeks before Cosby premiered, you're better off. The show's in a terrible time slot. It's up against Magnum PI. It's probably not going to last more than 13 weeks. Well, the show came on and lasted more than 13 weeks. It was a huge hit out of the box. My wife felt horrible at this point in time, like she denied my dream in life. But it worked out. I had my day job at Knott's Landing, got a freelance assignment on another sitcom called Webster, so I got a writing credit that year. And the following year, the baby wasn't so little, and the Cosby Show still was interested in hiring me, so I went and did the second season of the Cosby Show. So there's an all's well that ends well story for you.